Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're counting down our picks for the 20 scariest, creepiest, and most terrifying creatures in horror games. Now be prepared for plenty of frightful moments ahead. Before we begin, we publish new content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Volatiles, Dying Light. When night falls in the world of Dying Light, the true terror begins. Volatiles are ruthless, fleshy, zombified predators that are a true force to be reckoned with. What makes Volatiles so horrifying is that they are incredibly hard to put down, with your best option just being to run and parkour away to the nearest safe house, waiting for dawn's light. Fast, relentless, and utterly sturdy, these unique infected not only have menacing visages, but also have powerful attacks and leaps that are simply unmatched by the player. Nurses, Silent Hill series. Almost as iconic as Pyramid Head, more on that monstrosity later, Silent Hill's nurses are the stuff of nightmares. These prolific haunting killers contort, twist, and bend as they flail towards the player, bloody knife in hand, ready to deal an unholy treatment. Given Silent Hill's penchant for imbuing dark, challenging, and macabre themes and motifs into its abominations, it's really no surprise the nurses show up in so many entries in the series. Their terror comes not just from their ruthless ferocity, but also in the way their disfigured looks and disproportionate movements can often spell a quick death for the player. Slender Man series. Slender Man likely needs no introduction at this point, given that this well-dressed yet utterly terrifying entity has been featured prominently in various mediums. It's the way that Slender Man almost looks normal, something I say of course in heavy quotes, with his very much human figure, if a bit elongated, dapper suit, and general stance that make him so off-putting. He's always there, creeping, watching, waiting, staring. Slender Man's relentless pursuit of the player in the OG game and The Arrival showcased the shadowy power of this nightmarish being. Once you see his tendril-like appendages released from his body, you know it's too late for you. While this entity might not look as outright terrifying like other creatures on this list, it's his blend of mundane, uncanny, and hauntingness that ensures he seeps his way into the mind. Chris Walker, Outlast. With a pretty generic name like Chris Walker, there really shouldn't be anything that terrifying, right? Well, unfortunately no. Chris Walker is a predator, a hunter, an incredibly violent, once human creature you happen to stumble across early on in the derelict and decaying walls of Mount Massive Asylum. While he might just look like a hulking brute of a man, this deranged killer is pure monster through and through. The nefarious Murkoff Corporation really did a number on Chris with various different experimentations, something he now uses to render flesh from bone for those hapless inmates who call this asylum home. Best to stay as far away from him as possible. Nemesis, Resident Evil 3. A hulking monstrosity who relentlessly pursues the player and who also just so happens to have a powerful rocket launcher? Yeah, for our money that's pretty darn terrifying. Resident Evil 3's Nemesis looks like it was cobbled, stitched, and crafted together with skin, muscle, and bone, almost like an umbrella-fied version of Frankenstein's monster. It's the sheer size and raw power that Nemesis wields that makes him so menacing. Nowhere truly feels safe in RE3 when Nemesis prowls about, ready to send you to your grave. Gatherers, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Even if you've never actually played Amnesia: The Dark Descent, there's no doubt you have at least seen these gangly-limbed, fleshy, gaping mod monstrosities before. Aptly named Gatherers, these nightmare-inducing creatures can quickly steal away protagonist Daniel's sanity in rapid fashion, if he happens to look at them for just too long. The way Gatherers amble about Brennenburg Castle, growling to themselves in the darkness, always makes them terrifying to encounter, especially because Daniel has no way to defend himself. The Guess, Little Nightmares. Now, when you think of having guests over to your house for a nice dinner or some sort of party, your mind likely conjures up images of polite friends, cordial family, laughter, and plenty of good times had by all. Well, Little Nightmares as the guests are anything but these things. These horrid, human-esque creatures are the epitome of off-putting. They will gobble up Protagonist 6 any chance they get, especially since they are constantly gorging themselves on all manner of food and non-food alike. The guests are all about gluttony in every shape and fashion. Their trance-like state and inability to do anything but waddle around, scarf down hordes of food, and sometimes take naps sums up their mindless yet ravenous, horrifying stupor. Pyramid Head Silent Hill series. Now, it's really hard to argue with Pyramid Head's iconic status in survival horror. This infamous foe breaks through the barrier of outward terror by also representing the deep inner trauma and psyche of those trapped in Silent Hill, specifically when it comes to James Sunderland in Silent Hill 2, although Pyramid Head does of course appear in many other Silent Hill titles in one form or fashion. This brute of a beast is iconic for his massive rusted pyramid head / helmet and his gargantuan executioner-like sword. Each time you encounter Pyramid Head in a Silent Hill game, the dread sets in, the darkness descends, and the horror really begins.
James!
Leave her alone! Leave us both the hell alone!
The Witch Left 4 Dead series. The witch might look unassuming, much to her advantage, as she sits or stumbles along, crying, moaning, and wailing. Newbie Left 4 Dead players might think she is just an unfortunate, hapless NPC. However, once agitated, it's clear the player is now the one in the unfortunate situation. Yep, that's right, get too close to the witch, or make too much noise in the vicinity, and heaven forbid accidentally attack her, then the Pandora's box of horror is well and truly open. The witch's ferocity is simply unmatched. She will instantly hone in on the aggravator, quickly sending them to their grave. Just follow this one rule in Left 4 Dead: don't mess with the witch. The Baby Monster, Resident Evil Village. This entry could really just be summed up as the following: a giant, hulking, fleshy, bloody, grotesque, baby-like monster who yells and wails, endlessly pursuing the player with surprising speed in the bowels of House Beneviento. I mean, come on, that's a lot to deal with in a game already brimming with terrifying creatures. The Resident Evil games have always had unexpected, if horrifying, surprises, but the baby monster really was unbelievably unexpected when players first encountered it. Alma Wade Fear series. Okay, it might be a bit of a stretch to call Alma Wade a creature, since for all intents and purposes, she is a regular human girl, albeit with strong psychic abilities, who unfortunately was experimented on via the Armacam Technology Corporation. These inhumane experiments sought to extort Alma's powers for financial gain, something they likely deeply regretted given it gave her a bevy of unholy, uber-powerful supernatural mind control abilities. Alma's appearances in the first Fear game were so terrifying because they always seemed to come out of left field, just like when climbing down a regular old ladder. And, well, Fear 2's Alma, let's just say it went down some really dark and disturbing paths regarding her psychic supernatural powers and her pregnancies. Xenomorph, Alien Isolation. Alien Isolation's Xenomorph is downright iconic at this point. The way this version of the terrifying, menacing alien was created, with its highly intelligent AI, meant that playing through the game was an exercise in pure dreadful horror. The Xenomorph is the perfect hunter, always on the prowl, always ready to pounce, and rarely afraid of the outcome. As you slowly creep through the vast expansive hallways, vents, and corridors of Sevastopol, the constant threat of the Xenomorph means you truly never feel safe, even when armed with something like a flamethrower. And when, not if, it catches you, its bloodthirsty, glistening visage will ensure you have nightmares for days on end. Twin Victims, Silent Hill 4: The Room. Deep in the water prison in Silent Hill 4: The Room, players will come across a creature walking on its massive hands, its baby-like conjoined heads following your movements, and sinister sounds emitting from its mouths, especially once aggravated. This unfortunate creature is known as the Twin Victim. So who might these two twin victims actually be? Well, these twins, Billy and Miriam Locane, were murdered by Walter Sullivan, the central antagonist of The Room. On a side note, you do actually learn about this crime early on in Silent Hill 2. With symbolism being such an important aspect to Silent Hill's many monstrous aberrations, you might wonder why you then stumble across many different twin victims in Silent Hill 4. While there isn't a definitive answer to this question, the fact that they are reincarnated versions of murdered twins is something that will haunt your psyche.
I'm Andrew DeSalvo. They tried to make it seem like an orphanage, but according to that town's holy scriptures, it was actually the center of their religion. And that kid Walter, he was really into that mumbo jumbo.
Laura, the Evil Within. Part woman, part spider, part eldritch-looking beast, Laura from The Evil Within is what nightmares are made of. Seriously, she is just that disturbing. Sebastian really has his work cut out for him each time he encounters Laura. Laura's story is deeply personal and deeply sad. This monstrosity is the manifestation of her demise. Laura was terribly injured from a barn fire that scarred her permanently and put her in a sort of comatose/vegetative state before eventually succumbing, something that completely destroys the game's antagonist Ruvik, hence his vengeance in the narrative. Laura's relentless pursuit of Sebastian during their encounters will get your palms sweating as you seek to put her out of her misery. Blue Knees, Madison. A demon, an evil entity, a ravenous pursuer of all that is good and special, Blue Knees is a force to be reckoned with. Unfortunately for Luca, he finds himself face to face with this nefarious age-old demon, one that latched itself onto a children's book, able to be passed around between generations and families. So why Blue Knees? Why the name? It seems like an odd one, right? Well, the story goes that the demonic creature lost its eyes and now spends its days crawling about, bruising its knees searching for them, or others with them to harness as his own with evil intentions. Once you see Blue Knees in Madison, you unfortunately can't unsee him. It's now burned into your consciousness. So yeah, have fun with that. Necromorphs Dead Space series. Not quite aliens, not quite zombies, yet not quite human, Dead Space's Necromorphs are an unholy concoction that are a constant threat to Isaac Clarke aboard the USG Ishimura. While most of them can indeed be put down by cutting off their limbs, it doesn't make encountering them any less terrifying. Necromorphs generally have inhuman contorted movements, ferocious speeds, powerful attacks, and blood-curdling screams that will definitely set you on edge. It's the staggering variety of necromorphs that also makes them so harrowing, since you never know what you're going to get as you explore the many derelict locales. Some will slice Isaac in two, some will pierce Isaac's body like a shish kebab, or shishka Isaac rather? Yeah, why not? And others will grapple and pin down when the opportunity arises. No two encounters with these creatures ever feels the same, so better make sure you have plenty of firepower.
Isaac! Isaac Clarke, if you can hear me, run! Run!
Virginia, the Forest. It's quite difficult to actually describe the forest terrifying aberration that is Virginia. I mean, you're seeing this on screen, right? This inhuman mutant sort of resembles an octopus, a scorpion, and a spider, paired with a pale, fleshy exterior, a completely blank face, and multiple tiny arms. Just looking at Virginia is a sanity-draining endeavor. Virginia seems to be a combination of multiple humanoid bodies mutated together to form this terrifying monstrosity. You will know you are in the presence of one of the Virginia creatures since you will hear its scuttling noises as it creeps ever closer to you. Lisa, PT. It really is such a shame that Konami canned what would have become Hideo Kojima's Silent Hills, but alas, here we are. PT, or Playable Teaser, featured one of the most hideous and terrifying specters in all of gaming, Lisa. This vengeful wraith is found in the haunted looping corridor of PT. The way Lisa presents herself is so darn scary that you may not even be able to press forward in the game, or the demo rather. Whether she is standing in the hallway waiting, jump scaring you through the bathroom door, or rending your flesh from your bones once she gets her unholy hands on you, one thing is certain: Lisa will haunt your nightmares and have you looking over your shoulder whenever you play a horror game. Regenerators, Resident Evil 4. Any baddie in a Resident Evil game that you can't easily or quickly put down with firepower is terrifying, but for our money, the Regenerators rise above them all. The mere fact that, as their name of course implies, they can regenerate after taking damage is scary enough, but once you learn that you have to destroy specific parasites inside their body to fully put them down is another thing entirely. These experimental bioweapons created by the nefarious Los Illuminados have evil glowing eyes, skull-like faces, powerful limbs, and surprising speed. Oh yeah, and good luck if more than one tries to attack you at once. Wendigos, Until Dawn. Until Dawn features plenty of terrifying moments, but none are as terrifying as actually encountering the Wendigos. These things are utterly unnerving, and just writing about them now is making my hair stand on end. The Wendigos are ravenous, flesh-eating, cannibalistic monsters that became the way they are due to spirit possession by the titular Wendigo spirit. Their grayed, decaying, bloody skin, their vicious, razor-sharp teeth, and their supernaturally fast movements make them the ultimate predator on Blackwood Mountain. Obviously, that's very unfortunate for our hapless group of friends who find themselves stuck there, since the Wendigos would love nothing more than chowing down on some fresh meat. Remain still and silent if you want to survive their wrath. So, do you agree with our terrifying picks for this list? What horror game creatures do you think are the scariest? Be sure to let us know down in the comments. Thank you for watching this video for MojoPlays. If you do want to see more from us, then be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss our daily gaming videos.